Hi, it's Dr. Games, and I wanted to do a very quick video today on how to create a height map using Blender. I have an older version of Blender, easy for me to say. I have Blender 2.7, but this works in almost any version of Blender. And I'm going to go through the steps. Very quickly, height maps are a way of representing three-dimensional data in a two-dimensional format. And you're looking at it orthogonally up and down. The white typically represents the high areas, the blacks the lowest areas, and it's very useful for things like Unity, etc., where you're trying to convey terrain information, etc. There's another related kind of mapping that's called normal maps, but I'm going to save that for another time. So these are height maps, and I'm going to show you what it looks like at the other end. So first thing, open Blender. Right click on the square in the middle, hit the X or the delete key. It's going to ask, do you really want to delete me? And the answer is yes. I have an object already out here that I'm going to import in STL format. So we're going to go to my desktop and I'm going to bring in the anomaly, and then you can see what this looks like. So it has an ellipsoid base, and then it has this heptagon up on top. So kind of not your average kind of thing. So first thing we're going to have to do is we've got to take a picture of it, or we're going to render this. So we're going to go to, so I don't need to do any material or anything like that. There are some other tutorials out there in Webland where they make you do special materials, etc. But this is a much easier way to do it. So first we're going to hit the N key, which brings out our additional attributes. We're going to click on the camera, and what we're going to do is we're going to move the camera so it's over the top of our item. Now let me do wireframe so you can see. Ours is pretty well actually centered on the origin point, and that's going to be important. If it wasn't, what you can do, just very quickly, Control Shift Alt C, and that brings up this additional thing, and then you do geometry to origin. I don't need to do that in this particular case because it's already pretty well lined up. But I do need to do, remember that our camera's highlighted over here. I do want to put this over the top of our item, and it's there. It's just way up high in the air here. I'll do a side view and we'll zoom out and you can see the cameras there. Notice it's also at an angle, which we don't want it. We want it facing straight down. So I'm just going to zero all of these out, and you'll see now that our camera is facing straight down. If I hit the 5 in Blender, it gives me an orthogonal view. This is kind of a perspective view. This is orthogonal. It doesn't matter, but it's easier to line things up. I'm going to N to see what we see in our, I'm sorry, not N. I'm going to hit 0 to see what I can see. And actually, that looks pretty darn good. Now we're going to go over here. We're still, remember, got the camera. We're going to go to the camera controls, and we're going to go to orthogonal. Now at this point, it looks like we've got some extra room on here. I'm going to right click on the object, and I'm going to see what its maximum dimensions are. 4.4, 2.5, so 4.5 really gets everything in there. Go back, grab my camera, and then this orthographic scale, it's pretty close right now, but I'm going to change it to 4.6 and watch what happens. Yeah. It pretty much fills up our space. I'm going to put this back on solid just so you can see it. Now we're going to do some magic, and I've got one correction that we're going to do. So watch carefully this part. I'm going to go through this relatively slowly. So first thing is I'm going to change this bottom into a node view, and how I'm going to do that is click over here on the timeline thing. I go up and then we go node editor. It should be blank when you first do it. Notice you don't have to have any of the weird renders, just the regular Blender render will work. You're going to come down to this middle button here, which is the compositing nodes. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on use nodes. I'm using the middle mouse wheel to scroll in And if I want to see what this looks like, I can hit F12. So I do that. And this is what it looks like. But I told you we want a black and white. We want a black and white version, well, grayscale version of this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to come down here. We're going to add a vector node, and not normal. We're going to go to normalize, and we're going to bring that up here. So it goes between the two things. And then, see this? This is, rather than what it's going to get out of the shading, we're going to go to the Z value and put that in here. And now you can see that it goes from the top, in this case, which is black, down to the bottom, which is white. But that's not the typical format. That is not the typical format for a height map, just the opposite. Usually the high areas are listed as white and the low areas are black. This is just the opposite. So guess what? I'm going to go here. I'm going to go back to color, and I'm going to pick invert. I'm going to change white to black and black to white. And you can see we've got that there now. So remember that when we looked at it, there was this heptagon, which is on the top, and then there was at the base of this was the ellipse. Now, there's one more change we're going to make. So watch carefully. My fingers will never leave my hand. I'm going to go over here to scene, and hidden in here, all of these things, cool things you can do. Hidden here is color management. We're going to change the display device to none, and you'll notice that there was a slight change in here. What that in actuality is made these a little more convex, so there's going to be more differentiation. Depending on what your system takes, whatever your gaming system takes, usually you're going to want to do this in terms of squares. So, and usually this is going to be a multiple of 2. So I'm going to change this to 1024 by 1024, because again, you typically want these to be done in squares, and that is what our render resolution is going to look like. And let's take a look and see what we get. There we go. And it's a square at this point. Now, the other thing you got to think about is, does it take PNG files, or does it take TIFF files, or does it take JPEG files? But I'm going to go ahead and change this to JPEGs, because one of the programs that I'm going to use this for it at JPEG, but it won't do a PNG. And another trick you can do is you can go over to Image and Save As, and then you can pick where you want it. So I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to call it Anomaly. I can spell. Anomaly Work in Progress 4. And there we have it. So now that particular height map, and I just hit the escape key, that particular height map will be available to use in all of those other programs. So again, just a reminder what this kind of looks like in 3D. I'm going to bring it into something called ViaCAD. And in this particular case, this is an amazing program, and I use this for all kinds of stuff with 3D printing. Just remarkable. And if you want me to talk more about that, I can. I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to do a mesh tool, and I'm going to, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import a 2D picture. I'm going to bring in a JPEG file, and I'll bring in this in, and there it is. And what I'm going to do now, notice that I have it on the X and Y plane, and the Z is facing straight up towards us. I'm going to move the hand so this is just out in the middle. I'm going to go to this, now I'm going to go to the Power Pack, Mesh Tool, Height Map to Mesh. It was going to bite me. So I'm going to do Height Map to Mesh. I click on it. It tells me up here, select the 2D image to convert to mesh. I'm going to pick this person here. I'm going to give it a minute, and lo and behold, all right, so I'm going to grab this. The picture's laid on top of it, but you can see that in 3 dimensions, we've got our height map is on here. All right, and there you have it. So now you know how to very easily convert a item, a 3D object, an STL or an OBJ into a height map. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please click the like button, and I would ask you all to think about subscribing. Have a great day.